Hola bookworms! So today I'm gonna do my reading glimpse of the week, and as you'll know or maybe not, this is basically talking for a few minutes about what I read, what I'm currently reading, and what I'll read next. So let's get started with what I read. So in the past week, I read way more than last week, which is a huge improvement considering last week I barely read at all. So last week, what I read. So I made some progress in the Jumbies. I'm over halfway done, and honestly it just took me a couple of hours to get there. So basically in 2 hours I'm pretty sure I can be done with this book, and I'm enjoying it. It went darker than I thought it would be. Like I already sensed that it would be a dark middle grade book because of how it started, but it gets even darker, so I'm intrigued. And so yeah, I think, fingers crossed, the next week I'll just focus. I'll try to find 2 hours or like twice 1 hour to just power through it, and so I can be done with this one, and then we have one less book that I'm in the middle of. And because I had a hard time focusing, I thought I would actually just go with audiobooks. So for Thunderstruck, unfortunately, actually I have it. Wait, give me a second. So for Thunderstruck, I decided not to listen to it on audiobook, or if yes, it would be like immersive reading, which I don't do often because it's a lot. But basically it means audiobook and physical reading. And that's because I listened to the first, I think, 20 pages, and I was so intrigued. I really loved it. It gave me a sense of Benjamin Labattu's When We Cease to See the World. I'll put the cover here. Loved it. One of my favorite books of this year for sure. And this has like very much those vibes. So yes, so I knew I wanted to like physically reading so I could annotate, so I have my little annotation thing. So yes, I think I'll find some time maybe next week to just really sit down and get into this nonfiction because it's so interesting. I really like how he writes nonfiction so far. It's just very connecting things for you, giving you the context more. Like it's not just throwing you a random fact without like the background of the other people that are connected, the other researchers that are connected to like a specific finding. So for example, right now we're following Guglielmo Marconi. He does something with electricity, but then for that we got a bit of background about Lord Riley, that he was working on that. Heinrich Hertz, who also Hertz, you guys know what it is. So there's like a lot of background going in. I thought it was fascinating, and I love when nonfiction are like that. I would say this is an introduction, but so much more, you know, like it's a full introduction. It's not too surface level, which can be a little daunting, which is why I think I'm maybe thinking immersive reading, or at least just physical reading. It's not the kind of nonfiction you can listen to. I mean, you could listen to it. The audiobook narrator is good. You could just listen to it on audiobook, but because I want to retain some of the information, or at least have the information I find interesting so I can like go back to it, I really need a physical copy with me. So this is happening also next week. Also, what I read last week, but that I actually finished this time, is The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And this has been in my TBR for years. I got this actually used, as you can see, I don't know if you can see it, at a used bookstore in Chicago, which I love. I still think about it. I love that used bookstore so much, and it had so many great books that I really want to go back eventually. Like I love that place in Chicago. So anyways, I've had it for many years, and I just knew it was a winter book. I knew I wanted to read it during winter. It just never happened. And granted, there's no snow outside, but it got chilly here. Like we're starting the sweaters. I have to go out with coats. There are some climate change moments where it's like 20 degrees, 15 degrees still. But regardless of that, which makes me think I should totally read another climate change environmentalist like fiction, because it's so appropriate. I can't believe how warm it's been the last the last few weeks. Like there's this, it's like up and down. It's like no wonder I feel like I'm about to get sick, because it's either super warm or super cold and there's just no in between. All that to say that I still picked it up because it was cold and I thought it would be a great audiobook, and because I'm still having like a hard time focusing on like physical reading, I decided that I would give it a try, and it was available, so why not? And I loved it. It was so fun. It's this okay, wait, let me think. The star rating for me, this is an easy 4.5 stars. I enjoy it so much. This is a great mix of magical fairy tale retelling, but also like, you know, quirky characters, and like it's not as big as, like, I couldn't compare it to like Anna Karenina in the sense of like those big families and the people involved, but it does have the sense of like it's a big family and the people involved, and then they go each on their own thing, and you kind of have to follow them through what's happening to everyone. So there's like a lot of things going on and a lot of characters to like follow, but I don't think it was overwhelmingly so. And maybe it's because the story was so well crafted and I was just so like in the story that I had no issue with, you know, the names, the number of characters and anything. Like I could just situate myself very quickly. And yes, I enjoyed it. And I love Vasya as a main character. I loved seeing her, like this particular book, we're following her and her family when they were really young. So I don't know, I'm gonna throw a number like 8 years old maybe. So we're starting there and all the things are happening, like, you know, we're getting situated. There's like talk of maybe some magic involved. Vasya can see some of the things. They grow up a little bit, and then the father, like, he's the lord of whatever village they're living in, and now he goes to Moscow to, you know, find a new wife, because, you know, she's a little rowdy, she's a little wild, and she loves like fairy tale stories. And it's so cute to see the bonds between the brother and sister before like they grow up. And so yeah, they basically grow up in this book. Like there's a big arc in this. There's a lot of like time that passes. So there is a big arc in that. I think we end the story with them being maybe like young adults. And then the second one follows that. But I loved it so much. There's something about, this is way more than magical realism. This is like fantasy to me personally, because to me magical realism is like a lot less, and there's a more toned down version of it. But these, you get like to another level where to me it's fully fantasy at some point. So it is a fantasy that builds up, because I feel like it starts magical realism and then it's just full on fantasy. So if you don't like magical realism, don't worry, this isn't it. Like I feel like 3/4 of the book you're like fully in the fantasy like vibe. I love fairy tale kind of stories, and I feel like it kept it. Like I don't know if this is a fairy tale retelling. I want to say that it's inspired by Russian fairy tales, but I couldn't tell you which one precisely, nor do I have like the knowledge of like comparison of what the author did with that fairy tale. But it did have the structure and some of the fairy tale elements, you know, like learning a lesson. You have the whole like be careful what you wish for. You have, you know, monsters that they're like very ambiguous, right? Like in fairy tale, it's never just black and white. There's always something behind the evilness of, if you want, or like you might think he's evil, but it's just, you know, very not realistic evidently, but more like it's more straightforward, it's more objective. So anyways, I don't know if this makes any sense for people who haven't read it. But let me tell you, if you want a fantasy book that's very winter and that's very entertaining, this is it. And honestly, I see a lot of people recommend it, and justly so. I think it's It's not as hyped as a lot of books out there, but it is kind of hyped, and I agree. Honestly, I completely agree. It should be hyped. This was a great first part of the trilogy. The more I talk about it, the more I'm like confident. It's like a 4. I want to say a 4.25. That's like basically what I would give it. So yes, that was really fun, and I really enjoyed the audiobook. The audiobook narrator was really good. And yeah, so currently reading, we had these two that I mentioned, so The Zombies and Thunderstruck. I'm in the middle of other books too, but I don't want to get back into it. I think these are the ones that I'm gonna read next week, that I'm gonna try and finish. Plus, I started the second book of The Bear and the Nightingale, which is The Girl in the Tower. Sometimes I do that, it just happens. It happened with the Neapolitan Quartet. It hasn't happened, like it really doesn't happen a lot. But if I have access to the audiobook and I really like a series, because I don't own the second one of this series, so if I have access to the audiobook and I'm really enjoying it, I could back to back like read them. I have no issue with that. So I did that with the Neapolitan Quartet. I think I read them all in like under 4 months, maybe, the 4 volume. And I think that's pretty much what's gonna happen with this trilogy. I'm really enjoying it. So I started the second one. I'm already halfway done. That's how much I'm enjoying it. And yes, am I enjoying it as much as the first one? Yeah, I would say depending on how the second half goes, I'll enjoy it, because so far I'm enjoying it as much. I love that we're still following Basia and like all her shenanigans, and just I really love it. I really enjoy it. And yeah, I'm not gonna spoil more. It's really fun. So there's that. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna finish next week, because like I'm on a roll with this audiobook. So next week is a little bit busy, not too busy, but somewhat. So definitely I really wanna try to finish the Zombies. Like I need to lower down the amount of books I'm currently in the middle of. And the other one that I'm thinking that I could finish most probably is Chlorine Sky by Mahogany L. Brown. So this one I barely started it. Like I'm only 30 pages in. But you know, it's like written in verse, it's 140 pages. I feel like if I put my mind into it, I could finish it, and I was enjoying it. I don't know why I stopped it. I guess like in general, I'm not reading a lot physically. Like it's taking a lot right now for me to concentrate. So maybe that's why, because it's like a fairly easy read in the sense of like it's in verse, it's only 140 pages. So yeah, I think I'll give this one a try, and the Zombies. These two I'm really hoping I'm able to finish, even though the week is gonna be a tiny bit busy. So there's these two, and Thunderstruck is just gonna be my nonfiction for a few weeks, I think. Just because it's pretty chunky. It's almost 400 pages. So it's a pretty chunky nonfiction, and it's written, I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it's written a little small. So we'll see. It might take me a moment, but at least it's interesting. So I don't mind in that sense. And honestly, I think that's gonna be like my only contribution in the whole nonfiction November thing, because my mind cannot. And like I said, I tried another nonfiction, had to DNF it, was not interested at all. And I still have my optional nonfictions that are there, so I can always like, if ever I'm in the mood strikes that I want something new to read and nonfiction, then I know I can like go to those. So that's really fun. As far as my fall TBR, honestly, I think I might get 1 or 2 more from that TBR, but my mood I feel like has completely shifted. So I might have to do another TBR for like December. And I think I will. Like I think for the end of the years, I want to focus on like different kind of books that I'm either really excited for, like I feel like is missing in my, you know, reading journey so far, that I want to read sooner rather than later. So there's that. So I think my TBR might change. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if there's any of these books that you really enjoy, you want to talk more about. Give a like if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you want to. And on that note, have a happy rest of the week. Bye.
No estoy pendiente a lo que tú estás haciendo.